Hello and welcome to Anime Animosity. Now, let me start off by saying there is no correct way to watch anime, or watch anything for that matter. It's entirely up to you, the viewer, to decide how you want to watch your media. But that should go without saying. I mean, it's the very obvious and boring answer. Now, the whole point of this video is for me to give my input on quote-unquote the correct way to watch anime, hence the title. Is it to be binged at the end of a season, or watched weekly as it airs? Well, there are a few different answers depending on the circumstances of the show. For example, if it's a show that isn't airing right now, perhaps from a couple of seasons ago or many years ago, well then no shit you're going to have to binge it, and that's the best option in that case. Well, unless you're a psycho and will watch one episode a week or even one episode a day of any given show and kill any desire to watch another episode until the next day or even week. If you're going hard with the weekly anime feel but somehow missed the show's initial run, perhaps you weren't an anime fan back when it aired. I know I fall into that category with a lot of shows, or you just didn't feel like watching weekly anime for that season. But if a show is airing, well, what's the better choice? To binge or not to binge? To watch weekly or wait 12 weeks to watch that one show you've heard so many great things about? Well, I'll start by sharing my opinion, which is that I think watching a show weekly is better than waiting and binging it. But maybe that's because I have a surplus of free time and all that I do right now is watch anime, and I can easily spare 20 minutes at the drop of a hat to watch an episode as soon as it comes out. Though, I think there's more to it than that. Let's break down the pros and cons of watching weekly and binging. Well, let's start off with weekly. And we'll start with the pros. So, you have no expectations other than your own when you go into a show. So, how is this a benefit? Well, take Demon Slayer for example. When it started airing, nobody could have seen how episode 19 would stir the internet, and obviously when episode 19 dropped, a lot of people jumped onto Demon Slayer due to the hype that Twitter and the like had built up around it. And that's a great thing, don't get me wrong. But when many of those people would have gone in with extremely high expectations for the entire show and would likely have been disappointed as a whole due to the fact the first season isn't to the level of hype that episode 19 garnered, well, maybe that's not the case. Well, are you sure that's happened? Well, I can safely say that it is, because in my case, when I watched Demon Slayer, my expectations were inadvertently higher than they should have been, even though I tried not to, get my hype levels up before I went into the show. And as such, my enjoyment of the show was hindered. However, if you watch weekly, you could experience the whole show without preconceived notions of its quality. You also get that first-hand experience, and much like the first point, Demon Slayer serves as a great example. Imagine if you were watching Demon Slayer back when it aired, and episode 19 hit. You've been watching the show for 19 weeks and boom, it gets hype. It breaks the internet, and you were there to witness it firsthand. You could have been one of those many people that tweeted out or made a Reddit forum about how good Demon Slayer is, and when it got big, you get that vindicated feeling of, yeah, I watched it since it blew up, before it blew up, and get to lord over all other anime fans like a complete and utter cunt. And the third pro for watching weekly is ease of watch in terms of a time sink. When watching a show weekly, you only have to make time for one episode, or 20 minutes, which isn't a whole lot. And most people can manage to find that time after a day at work, a day at school, or any other commitments that they have. And with the ease of online streaming, if you missed the episode when it aired, then you can still watch it at a later point in that week. Because, well, the magic of online streaming. And something tells me that that exact point might come up later. That's not even foreshadowing, that's just telling you what's going to happen. Anyway, now we'll move on to the cons of watching weekly. So, probably the biggest one is the pressure. So, while I just said that watching weekly anime is easy to work around and input into your day, there is a level of pressure that you have to watch each episode in that week so you don't fall behind. Now, this can be dealt with quite easily by just missing a week and then watching 2 in the next. And well, then you're verging on getting into, well, what if I don't watch this week either? Then I've got 3. Well, I might as well wait for it to finish and binge it when it's all there. And so there's that shift into binging if you decide to start missing weeks. But that's the benefit. Well, let's not get into binging benefits just yet, but that's one of the downsides of watching weekly is there is that pressure to watch every episode when it comes out, especially in my case when I'm doing weekly anime reviews, so I have to watch all the shows that I want to talk about before a certain date. And trust me, yeah, I do feel that pressure a little bit. Just a bit though, don't worry about it. And the second con from watching weekly is you have no one else's opinion to judge if a show is worth your time. So, if you're watching a show weekly, you don't get that moment that breaks the internet to highlight a show that's worth your time. You have to gamble a little bit. Yes, you could always wait a few weeks, then catch up and shift into weekly watching to find out what shows are good or not. And you could also watch one of the many YouTube videos talking about the upcoming shows of a season. So, it's only a small issue, but it's an issue nonetheless. Even if it is a workaroundable, not everybody has time to watch like a 20-minute YouTube video to find out what they're going to spend the next couple of 20 minutes in that week watching. I know that sounds ridiculous, but everybody has different amounts of free time. And now let's change perspective. Let's talk about binging anime. So, what are the pros? Well, it's easy to watch. In fact, that it's convenient. So, when you binge a show, or just wait for it to finish before you start watching it, you have all the episodes right there to watch at your leisure, whenever suits your schedule. And it's all thanks to the magic of online streaming. Once you look at that, the point I made not too long ago immediately became relevant. How great am I at writing scripts? Anyhow, so if you have, say, a busy week, or a time we have more free time than normal, well, you can watch more episodes and you don't have to wait for them. Which is another benefit, in the fact that you don't have to wait a week between episodes. You can watch the episodes all at once. Or if you get burnt out, leave it a bit and then come back. So, again, it's a convenience thing. You don't have to wait. You don't have to be impatient. You can just watch it as and when you want. And our third pro for binging is there is no pressure. Unlike with watching weekly anime, there's no pressure to watch an episode if you don't feel like it. Or if something comes up and you don't have time, so you don't have time, well, then you're a lot more free to watch it when you do have time. And you can watch as much of it when you have that time. You can watch whatever you want, whenever you want, as and when it suits you. And that lack of pressure can put people at ease and make them more comfortable when watching anime. And honestly, comfort is a very big part of enjoying a hobby. And now we move on to the cons of binging. And, well, they're the opposite of the pros for watching weekly. You don't get that first-hand experience, and other people's opinions can sway your judgment and impact your enjoyment of a show. There's also the worry of spoilers. Now, while it's still possible while watching weekly, take Attack on Titan's Final Season Part 1, with how as soon as the episode aired, it trended on Twitter, and if anything major happened to a character like a death, they also trended, and people were posting screenshots from the manga, like all the time, like scum. But the risk is greater when binging a show than if you watch it weekly, because everybody's already talked about it, all that information is already out there, and now while it's not hard to avoid spoilers, some people do things maliciously, or simply by accident. So you're talking to a friend that's already watched the show and they accidentally let something slip. So, while avoidable, the risk is still very much there. So, what's the big takeaway from all of this? Well, it's that whether you binge anime or watch it weekly, you'll get something out of it. Doesn't matter if you wait or don't. It's up to the individual to watch their anime to their wants and their needs. So, whether you're a weekly follower or a waiting binger, as long as you enjoy your time watching the show, then everything's great. Personally, I think watching anime weekly is better in terms of the experience, but each to their own. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment, sub, hit the notification bell if you really feel like it, and with all that said, I've been Animosity, you've been you, and I'll see you all next time for another video. Ta-ta for now.